here today with our friend Smoky Crosman. Smoky is legendary
Oh,
for his work in Arizona in his career in the performance aftermarket. A car guy, a golfer.
oh yeah.
Yeah, he's Smoky's been there and he's done that. Yeah,
And got the T-shirt.
you got the T-shirt.
Been there, done that. Got a T-shirt.
Yeah, Smoky, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, Smoky without an E.
Right.
Okay, your full name?
The full name, the real name?
Yes.
William Crosman Jr. Named after my dad. And Sumner is my middle name.
So the question that's asked is Smoky.
Well, when I was a kid, 2-3 years old, everybody back in the 40s smoked, and me running around, I would get in the ashtrays and I'd play with the matches. And right about the time I was born, Smokey the Bear was started. So my parents thought Smokey, and it stuck in school. And when I was, sign up, it says William, and they call my name. I had no idea who they're talking to. I didn't do well in school. I'm going to use that as my excuse.
Well, because you didn't know your name.
Right.
You identified as a Smoky.
That's correct.
It's all about identification, right?
That's correct.
So where were you born?
Born in Bloomington, Illinois.
And how did you get to Arizona?
Well, my parents, after that, moved to Milwaukee in, what was it, 50? Somewhere along in there. And then my aunt and uncle moved out here in 58, and my parents came out in 60 for Christmas holiday. We came out here from Wisconsin to here, like what he was saying. We're swimming on Christmas Day, and my dad goes, you know what? This is us. We went back. He sold his business, sold a house, moved out here, bought a house in Scottsdale. No job, no nothing. He says, I'm here. And the first job he had, believe it or not, was a manufacturer's rep.
Wow.
He worked for Ralph Mecklenburg.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's a great name for the past.
Yeah, and I was in high school, just started high school, and I asked my dad, I said, how does this deal work? He said, well, you go out and make sales calls, and you get paid a commission. I said, you don't get a check every week? He goes, no. I said, you're out of your mind. I said, why would you do that? And as it progressed, and I understood, what it was, and I went on sales calls with him, and I had a good time.
So you got your foot in. You kind of got your foot in the door.
Well, yeah, I kind of understood what was going on, and I met some of his customers. Like there's a place on 7th Avenue Auto Parts. I don't know if you remember that place or not. And APCO, I'd go in and make sales calls with them, with my dad.
So, were you a car guy yet, or did?
Yeah, I was involved. I love cars, and I always, when I was a kid, I tried to identify cars as I'm going down the road in the back of my dad's car. That's a Buick. That
by the headlights.
Yeah.
Even at night,
yeah.
you used to be able to do it. Yeah.
Right. So I started that, and then when I 64, 65, I bought a 57 Chevy. Thought it was the best thing since hot water. It was actually a piece of junk, but we cruised Central, did the Bob's Big Boy, on Saturday night, and had a ball, man. I mean, in the 60s, it was great growing up.
So the Bob's Big Boy, a lot of people don't remember that was at Central and Thomas.
Central and Thomas, correct.
And they actually at one time they were actually on roller skates at one time.
Yes, they were. Matter of fact,
it was a car out.
Car out, yeah. You go out and you had the little tray come out, and they'd roll out there and have your Bob's Big Boy on your
I'm not that old, so I remember my grandparents told me.
Give me a break.
It was a lot of fun.
Hey. Yeah. We had a ball.
Cruising Central.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you car guy. You went to. I heard you mention you went to Coronado High School.
Yes.
And your passion for cars, and
mm-hmm.
So how did you take that further? What was your
in 1965, a buddy of mine went to Beeline for the AHR Winter National. First time I'd been to a drag strip. We went there, and I was just blown away. I said, man, this is me. I want to get involved somehow, either involved, around it, something. I was going to do it. And at that time, I couldn't afford it or pay attention. So I figured I better get somewhere around it. Later, I ran into John Thorne behind the A&W on Scottsdale Road, and he had a 55 Chevy, straight axle car, 426 wedge in this thing, and I went, I think I need to talk to that guy. Went back and introduced myself and volunteered my services because I had at that time I had a 64 El Camino to tow the car out to the drag strip. And I would not get paid, I just want to be involved, you know. So we struck up a friendship, and at that time Joe Thaden was also involved. So we go to the drag strip, and a guy by the name of Clark, I don't know his last name, he was the driver, older guy. And we went to the drag races, and I thought, man, this is great. You know, been all around these people, and the people were great. You know, I got to see Joe Rundle and Carl Hudspeth and on and on. And that went on for 2 or 3 years. Scottsdale Speed formed at that time with Joe, myself, and John Thorne. And I worked on some cars, and I figured I'm not that big of a mechanic, so I'd rather go in the parts department. So that's where I started the parts department for Scottsdale Speed.
Where was that located behind the?
It was it was on Scottsdale and Osborne,
Okay.
behind the A&W.
I spent a lot of time in my life behind the NW. Later on, when Nolte had moved in there,
Right.
and then Larry Zake was doing painting there.
Yep.
That's where I first met Joe Thaden. You know, was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, Art Nolte came around because we had sponsored his Corvette, the Christown Corvette. Art was the driver, and T. Feeney was the owner of the car. And the reason it was called the Christown Corvette was that T. Feeney's family owned the land underneath the Christown shopping mall. So he was kind of well off, and he also owned the janitor's closet, which was the little bar downstairs, basically a doorway, and go down the stairways. Not that I've been there before, but
So I've been told.
yeah, so I've been told. But T was a character. I mean, he was a stocky guy, hell of a guy to be around, but don't try to outdrink him. One quick story. We go to Tucson to drag races. We drive down, T's with me. I don't remember what kind of car I was driving. And he had a case of beer in the back seat, and he consumed the case of beer by the time we got to Tucson. Hello. And I looked at that.
Was he driving?
No. No, I was. And I said, son. He just looked at me like, yeah, okay, we're here. But after that, he was a character.
He parted himself out of the car and had a good time.
Well, yeah, he kind of fell out of the car, and Art's just shaking his head like, you know, what am I going to do with this guy? But he's the money guy, so you know, you had to put up with him. So
amazing the power that the money has, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. But during my time at Scottsdale Speed, I ran the parts department and got to call Loper's and Gusick and Carter Company ordering parts. And I got to know Jim Wagner, who worked for Loper on Central and Clarendon. And we became pretty good friends. And over the course of a year or so, we became close. 1969, Jim calls me, say, hey, the old man wants to talk to you about putting you to work. I said, okay. So I drive down there, talked to John. It was my first time I'd really met him and talked to him. And I said, sure, I'll come work for you. So I went back, told John Thorne and Joe that I'm done. And I went to work for John at Central and Clarendon. And that was quite an experience. You know, coming from a little deal here, now we're down there, and we had good customers. Don and Madonna, Toya came up once a month. And it was like going to the grocery store. They'd come in and we want gaskets here, we want this, and that's what they did every month. And Nancy and Art Fisher from Hot Rod City do the same thing. So I got to meet a lot of people that, you know, I really had a lot of respect for. And in the meantime, John's mom had passed away, I think a year or so after I was there. Left him some money, which he in turn bought the land at 9th Street and Indian School, and proceeded to build a building that is currently there now. During that time, we were picked from the store to go up there and hang plywood, and we were cheap labor. You know, Jim would go one time, and then I'd have to go the next day, and that went on until the place was built. We get into the building, brand new deal, and he was like in heaven. You know, he thought this is the greatest thing since you know what.
I remember the building. It was. Didn't any of you know anything about air conditioning?
No, no, I did, but he didn't.
No.
No, the only thing he knew about was a VAP because it was cheap.
Right.
Man, but it was a good way to lose weight. You go in there and you have to wear your black shirt and with your little name on it. But anyway, as the course, as time went on, we had a good crew. We had Keith McKay, who was one of the older guys, Keith Stribling, who's known as Strib, who carries on the Valley Speed now because of the yearly thing. Ed Mape, who run the warehouse. Paul Wheat was our delivery guy. Oh, and Magic Lad, we called him Magic Lad, Guy Noggle. He was a character. He and Johnny did not get along. Matter of fact, one time they ended up in a fist fight in the back warehouse over. I don't know what it was about. I just heard Johnny come up complaining. Anyway.
We're talking about Junior?
Junior.
Okay. Yeah.
No.
Because I don't think
Senior. No.
If Senior, you wouldn't walk back up. You'd
No.
be done. Yeah.
No. Senior was not afraid of anything or anybody.
He's a street fighter.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm saying that I want to tell everybody that's with respect. I say that.
Yeah. And he when he and Larry Christopherson got together and went bar hopping, I pity anybody that got in their way, because you know how big Larry was, and Loper would be his backup, But anyway, we had a good time. Jim Wagner later quit and went to work for Service Center, and that left me kind of in charge. Lucky me. And during that time, I was being called on by manufacturers reps. Steve Ginsburg, Jerry Mahoney, Bill Tidwell, who was Linda Vaughn's husband at that
Mr.
time.
Linda Vaughn.
Mr. Linda Vaughn, right. And of course, having that relationship, man, he had some heavy hitter lines. I mean, he just walked in and said, "Make me a millionaire," all you had to do was just buy stuff from him, But Jerry Mahoney was his boss. And during a couple of visits, Jerry came with Bill and had pulled me aside, wanted to know if I would be interested in becoming a rep. I said, well, yeah, because he wanted Bill Tidwell in California.
So you're saying after your experience with your dad,
Yeah,
and now
I'm
you
going,
saw what it really was,
Yeah,
you
I'm
go,
going,
I could do that.
that's pretty cool. And I was getting to the point where, I was in Loper's place for 7, 8, 9 years. And of course, it was always a joy to go to work in that place. I see you smiling. Quick story. I'd have to open up in the morning and get everything set, cash registers done, employees there, and everybody was happy. John walked in that morning, and you didn't know what to expect from him. And he walked in that morning, and he was very happy, said hi to everybody, smoking his cigar. To the back office he goes, right? 15 minutes go by, and we had a telephone. I don't know if you know what that is, but inter office thing. All of a sudden, hear my name called, Smoky office. I went, oh, okay, because he was in a good mood. I figured, well, it's all right.
You need a pat on the back, right?
Yeah. So I go back there and sit down. So what's up? He chewed my ass out for an hour and a half because the close sign wasn't around. It was still closed and didn't have open. Hour and a half. After that, I bought some Nomex shorts because I got tired of getting my butt chewed. But, the old man was the old man.
Though he was the stories about, the sales rep side of it, that when people called on him, you go back to the office and he'd sit there with the safe open with all his coins, and he had the gun he put on the desk, and it's like, pull a revolver out and say, okay, what do you want to talk about?
Yeah.
And I, when I worked for Holly, I took the president and my immediate boss in, and Doug Matthew, who was formerly the guy, and they were, because I was concerned because I was once his competitor, and I didn't know what he felt about me, and that explained to him that I was now the Western Regional Sales Manager.
Right.
And turned out that it was a great meeting, but I warned him. I go, He's gonna pull a gun out and put it on the desk.
He did.
Just have fun with it. Say that's a really nice looking, oh God, you carry too, know, and that'll get it over with, because he's gonna want to try to intimidate you.
And he did the exact. I mean, he would sit down at the desk, and the rep would be sitting here, and I'd be sitting at the couch, and he'd have the gun there, and he'd say, "Okay, now what's going on?" And he'd turn the gun, pointing at the rep. "Okay, now what's my deal?" And a couple of guys just went pooped their pants. But that's with John. I mean,
the good thing about John Loper, and there are a lot of good things about him, but the thing is that I always thought he hated me. He didn't. He just hated his competitor. Just hated his competitors.
Oh, absolutely. And he would.
But that was why I called him a street fighter, because with respect.
Yeah.
Because that's where that was.
Yeah.
He wanted, I'm going to be I want to be number one.
Yeah.
And you're in my way,
Yeah.
and I don't care.
Yeah. He would get up. He didn't sleep but 3 or 4 hours a night. He'd get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and he'd go and look at all the windows and all the speed shops and take notes. How come this guy's got this, and how come this guy got it? How come he? And then he'd come in and bring me back in the office and say, "Hey, how come they're doing this, and
How come Performance Plus says this?"
Yeah, or how come Lane's House of Speeds this, or oh my God.
Well, you know what would make him mad? I found out is if you take a piece of paper and tape it to your window.
Oh.
And write, "Hi, John."
Yeah.
You thought you were being a smart aleck. I did that one time.
Did you?
Yeah.
I'd like to see his face at that point.
Yeah. We always used to say that you could tell him when he's there because there was cigar ashes on your
Yeah,
sidewalk.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You just look for the ashes. John had been there, but you know what? But when I was no longer a competitor, he actually became a good friend, and
Well, yeah.
because he really was a self-made guy.
Oh,
and he didn't
absolutely.
have any schooling. He learned on the streets. He was he worked for Smitty's or
No, he worked for
what?
Yeah,
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
yeah. Anyway, he was the produce guy.
Right, that's right.
And he worked there, and then he got into racing, and then got the speed shop, and then, but yeah, he never went past 8th grade.
Food City.
Food City, that's
Yeah.
it. That's it. Food City. Yeah, he never made it past 8th grade.
So I worked for the Gusick family,
Right.
and they were like oil and vinegar,
Oh,
mud and
my
water.
God.
But the thing is I think the reason why they were that way is they're both the same people.
Yeah.
Because Everett was a self-made guy.
Yeah, he was.
He was kicking carpet. He was doing this. He worked for car dealerships, and he was a racer. And just like John, he got parts for his buddies and himself. And
and they were the same.
So
I mean,
exactly.
they really were.
And that's why that's.
But they were always.
Yeah, it was like Pepsi and Coke, or Chris and Crux, the radio stations. You're either one guy or the other guy, right?
Right. But that's what was going on.
So you became a rep.
I became a rep. Well, the road to my rep agencies came through. I quit. Jerry kept talking about hiring me. Well, that fell through. He said, but there's a guy who wants to start a speed shop. His name is Tom Shear, owned Arky's Auto Supply. And I was at the point I was done with Loper. I mean, I wanted to get the hell out of there. So I said, okay, I want to talk to Tom Shear. And I don't know if you met this guy or not, but Arky's is a very appropriate name for him. I walked in the back, walked in his office. It was the size of a phone booth. And I walked in there and squeezed in. Bib overalls. He had money stuck up here, down here, and he had a big wad in his. So he said, I want to put a shop together on 22nd Street in McDowell. He said, my daughter is going to have a store next to you. Can you do it? And I said, well, yeah, what's the money? And he told me. Basically gave me a free hand. Here's the store, fill it up. And I did. And that lasted, we had customers come in, that lasted about 6 weeks. Come in one day and my key didn't work. I went, oh, this ain't good.
You put him in business.
I put him in business. What he wanted from me was my contacts to get these people set up. That's what he wanted. So I was out of a job, and did that. I was out for about 2 months, I guess. Had a wife, had 2 kids. You know how that goes. Well, I got a call from a guy by the name of Jack Goldstein. That's Herb Goldstein's father. Said, hey, I want to interview you. I heard about you, da, da, da. So I said, okay. drove to California, interviewed him with him and his wife, and he said, "I'll get back to you." Okay. I drove home. I never heard anything. Then I got a call from a guy named Dick Salsitz. I said, "Who in the hell are you?" He said, "I just bought Jack Goldstein's business and I want to hire you." Okay. Put that deal together. My first day on the job was with Ed Shalokian. I don't know if you know him. Remember him with the T-shirt?
T-shirt guy.
Oh yeah, and he was a CP sales manager. Mm-hmm. He calls me on like a Wednesday. I'm just picking a number. "I'm going to be in town Thursday morning. You come by and pick me up. We're going to Tucson. Make some sales calls." I said, "Okay." So that morning I picked him up at his hotel.
Didn't he have a big ring?
He had a big
EC or something on there?
Yeah, he had that, and he also had a $1,000 bill
Yeah.
in his pocket. It was real. So we drive to Tucson. We made 13 sales calls, and I was back at my house at 4:30 that afternoon. And I got home. I told my wife, I said, "I'm exhausted." I said, I don't know what the hell we did, but it was like, go in, here's a T-shirt, boom, have a nice day, boom, we're out. And I'm going, this is not selling. But after that, I got accumulated. I mean, I love the business. I mean, I absolutely love the business. And I love the customers and the people because they were my friends. From working at Loper's and all that, I knew the Madonnas and Donnie and Art and Nancy Fisher and Carol at Speed Hut, Frank Townsend, and everybody around here too. So I mean, I really, really enjoyed it.
I remember running into you after a SEMA show at a gas station in Wickenburg.
I was going to bring that up.
And you went up there going, "Okay, I'm a little guy."
Yeah.
You came back with a whole bunch of lines.
Yeah, I did.
And the excitement, I think you got Autometer and.
Yeah, I got Autometer. I got Earl's. I mean, when I ran into you guys, you and Tommy, I mean, I must have been floating because
You were.
I just couldn't believe what was happening.
Still remember it. And that was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was.
But that was like turning point for you.
Yeah, it was. It was because I was on my own. I wasn't working for Dick anymore.
Which is probably a good thing.
Yeah, it was. And I got there part of the way because of John Menler. And John and I had become friends before that. But he had a rep agency that he sold to me because he became the Centerline sales manager. So, and of course, John. And he and I went on a sales trip together because he wanted me to introduce, his customers to me. So we go in my car, which was a mistake. we go to Albuquerque, call on Yearwoods and then drive to El Paso and see CW and some other customers. So the deal was when we were on the road, whoever drove got to pick the radio station. He loved country, I loved rock and roll. So you can see how that went.
So you drove a lot.
So I drove a lot. No, he says, "God damn it," he says, "Oh, excuse me, I want to drive." Anyway. So we're leaving El Paso, and he's driving, and we're talking about our trip and everything, how it went. And he got stopped by a Texas Ranger. And I went, and he's in my car, speeding in Texas. So the Ranger comes up, and I looked over, and all I could see of the Ranger was a belt buckle in the window. And I went, "Holy Christ, this guy's big." And he said, "What you boys doing?" John's going, "Yeah. And he says, "You guys are speeding, I'm gonna have to write you a ticket." He said, "What are you boys doing in El Paso?" He said, "Well, we're making sales calls, and one of them was C.W. Yearwood." He goes, "C.W.?" And we went, "Yeah." He said, "You know C.W.?" John goes, "Yeah. Okay, boys, you can go."
CW had a lot of
a lot of
punch.
did. I mean, he had a lot of horsepower.
Yeah.
In that town. But that was my Menler trip with him in El Paso and Albuquerque. But
John Menler deserves a mention. There's a
yes,
guy that
does.
actually, he was big personality.
Yeah.
But he actually cared for a lot of people, and he did more for people.
Yeah, he did.
If you got a call from John saying, I got to be honest with you, it's going to be a long call, but it's because he's doing it because he wanted to tell you something he thought was important for you. Yeah. He put more people together, did more things for people, and never got a dime out of it.
He did a lot of networking.
Yes.
But when I met him back in the early 70s,
yeah, I know.
he was he was working for Randall American in Mesa as a sales guy, and he was drinking at that time, which
Yes.
that was a spectacle. But hey, we got to be good friends, and through the time, and he bought, I bought the rep agency, and I was going through a divorce and I needed a place to stay, and he had a place on Osborne and 27th
The
Avenue.
cave.
The Bat Cave.
The Bat Cave. Yeah.
And he and I stayed there or I stayed there for a while. It was his place. But it was like Dan Tana in that old movie that, you open up
Vegas.
the garage door. Yeah, it was in
Yeah.
Vegas, and you drive your car in, shut the door, and here's the living quarters, and here's your office. That's what we had.
Yeah.
And it was because of him and his friendship with me was great.
He was. He did a lot for me. He did a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah, he did.
And,
I know he did.
And yes, it's earlier. When he was drinking,
Huh.
I tell people we didn't like each other for a long time until we both grew up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we became best friends.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And it took a lot for him to stop too, and Wendy did, and my wife now and her were like sisters.
Right.
So, we were always together, and Diane and Wendy were always doing stuff, and it was great. It was a great time. Still is.
Scooter Brothers took him aside and said, you might do well if you weren't your own worst enemy.
Yeah.
And it's like, and he didn't know Scooter, but Scooter had been watching him, saw a really great guy,
Yeah.
had a lot of opportunity. And God bless John. He was like absolutely a big part of my life.
Yeah. Well, Scooter was a big part of his life too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And after he had that talk with him, and he kind of turned around. John was a great networker. When I worked with him at the drag races, when Centerline was in the Comp Cams trailer, you never see him in the trailer. He's out talking with the racers and doing that, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the other way around, that you'd be at the trailer taking care of customers. Well, he was taking care of his customers his way, which turned out to be the right way.
You're great. Yeah, absolutely great story. But we stopped at the gas station, Chevron station, whatever it was,
Yeah.
in Wickenburg, and get back in the car and I go, I've never seen him that excited.
Oh, I was.
And you went on, and
Yep.
you were very successful. I had a speed shop. You called on me, and I never felt like you were anything other than you're trying to support what I did.
Well, thank you.
Later, when I went to work for manufacturers, I realized how tough the manufacturer's rep job is. I equated to try to standing on a fence with a leg on both sides.
Yeah.
Because manufacturer pays you, but
Right.
nothing happens unless the customer orders
That's
something.
exactly right. Or it's like a piece of hamburger in between two buns.
Yeah.
You're stuck.
Right.
You got to make this guy happy, make this guy happy to get
Well, you did a good
the
job.
check. Well, thank you.
You did it. You're very good at that.
I did. I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah.
I really did.
You made a difference, and of course we've seen the aftermarket change with all the private equity and things. There's still some rep agencies out there, but not many. And it's this, and I still believe that's I still believe for a small company that's the best way to go to market is to have a rep agency.
Oh, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
even though some of the companies I work for didn't have them, I sure missed using them. But you've done a lot of good things, and I remember you've had a couple of real cool cars. You had a awesome Innova that was
this thing, it took about 6 years to put together, and when I finally got it together, I took it to shows and stuff like that, and really enjoyed that, and I got accolades for it. I got tons of trophies and stuff, and it was a beautiful car. I'm sorry I sold it, but
don't we all have a car like that?
Yeah.
But it's the reason why you sold it.
Yeah, it was in a lot of magazines and got me a lot of big trophies, like Grand National Roadster Show. I won the sweepstakes award for my class and got $500 travel money, which I thought was, oh man, this is great.
You mean they pay me money to do this?
Yeah.
I need to go into business doing this.
Yeah, really.
So there's a chance.
Yeah, but and then sold it and bought a 40 Ford Coupe and had that for a while. But then in 2008, things kind of went.
It was like coming into work one day and all of a sudden pick up the phone. So
hello.
The phones are working still, but nobody's calling.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah. And that's when I got into the other deal with my soda blasting thing.
Yeah, you did the soda blasting for a while, and that was really great in the wintertime. It really stunk in the summertime.
Oh, yeah, I look outside now, and I was doing work, you know, in this crap. But you'd start at 6 o'clock in the morning, and end at 10, you know.
Mhm.
But it was a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
But you know, I got a lot of nice people. Got into a lot of house restoration, which paid pretty good money.
But
yeah,
you did a lot more than cars.
absolutely. Did swimming pools, did fire restoration, and some cars. But I always had the fear when somebody, hey, I want to do my '56 Chevy. I said, where do you want to do it? In my driveway. I said, can't be done, son.
It leaves a little bit of a.
Yeah, it puts up a cloud, and people get.
The neighbors might not like
Oh
it.
no. And I've been stopped by every municipality in this city. You can't do
That's
that.
why I thought I saw your name on the wall at the post office. that was you, that picture.
Air
yeah.
quality is one that really was after my butt.
The DEQ. And
Yeah, they fined me $1,100 at one state down here in Chandler.
Just trying to make a living.
Yeah, learning experience.
So overall the performance aftermarket is really what
Oh.
your favorite, everybody's favorite to have been involved with.
Yeah.
You work for some great places. I know they still support the performance aftermarket by looking
Yeah.
at the scar on your knee that you have aftermarket parts in your right knee
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
So-
Not all original parts. I think.
No, yeah, eventually aftermarket parts.
Yeah.
It happens. It crawls.
Yeah.
It crawls into us. Your wife she's worked for
She worked for Jim Simpson,
right,
Fun Trucking, and then she went to work for Mark Dye at Flying High of Rosen.
and she really was the backbone
Yeah, she was.
for both those places.
Yeah. Jim Simpson was kind of like a Loper, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, he really was. But when she went to work for Mark, that was a big family. You know, Mark and his brother Mike Dye had a good background as far as financial.
Carbonics.
Dark Carbonics and Phoenix Welding. So when they started the store on McDowell, it was, a done deal. But it was at the right time. I mean, the off-road stuff was coming into its own.
And they had the right niche. They were
Yes.
lifting small trucks, and
Yep.
and then the Flying High name was like
Oh, yeah.
the perfect name. But she was, somebody had to make sure it happened,
Yeah.
and she was.
Yeah.
I know that she's still there for you, making sure you're okay, and
Yeah.
and you guys,
Yeah.
you looks like you love dogs from.
Yeah, we got 7 Scottish Terriers, and we have 5 puppies now that are all sold, and she's going to be delivering one to Washington I think in a month or so. But yeah, she's done well. She's done really well.
You guys are amazing. No, you
I
are.
don't know about that.
No, really. You kind of you're good for each other, and it's just it's good to see. And she believes in you, and you believe in her, and life's been good. And but for me, knowing you over the years, you've always been there for me when I needed you. Done it for a lot of people. Always have a great, the best attitudes you have. I've seen you on your down days, and you could still, just like you're doing now, you could still chuckle a little bit.
Oh yeah.
And you should be very, very, very proud of what you've done.
And I appreciate you, and I appreciate the business I was in to get me to this point. I mean, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I tell people, I'm still in the performance aftermarket. I tell people, I don't know what I'm going to do when I grow up.
No, I don't want to grow up. Are you kidding me?
This is too much fun. My worst day, like I said, my worst day is still better than somebody's good days.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's
you're right.
all good.
You're absolutely right.
So Smokey, you know what? You are an Arizona drag racing legend,
Well, thank you.
just a legendary good guy, and we're really glad to have you here today.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks, Chris.